All right, everyone, welcome along. So last week we looked at how we were going to start building our Power App, and we did a really simple version of it. But what we didn't do was actually try and make it look a little bit prettier, which is something that realistically you will have to do. So whenever you're going to actually build an app and do things with it, you're going to need to think about what the presentation layer looks like and how best to work in with the workflow that you've got planned. So I thought we'd cut on over and have a look and see how I've skinned it for now. And then I'll go through, we'll build it into the app that we built last week. And then we can discuss and have a look at some of the other options that we'd have, and potentially as well, some of the other use cases that you might be able to do with it. So last week we built this app, didn't we? Yeah, this pretty simple, basic app to help us get started and to see kind of what went on to make a Power App and where you will have to go when you start to build apps directly for your business. The thing we did with it though was we weren't too concerned about the actual niceties of the app. So things like we've got a lovely GUID here, haven't we? No value to us. Presenting a GUID to my team, to my staff. I know what that is, okay? But it was important for you to see roughly how all these things would work. We've got some other things in here as well that potentially aren't right. So because our report stores stores the values of that are being recorded for things to nth decimal place, that's what comes through into our list. So we need to make that look nicer when we present it as well. Okay. And the other thing, of course, is theming. So the modern Power App experience has the concept of theming, but it's a bit limited. I don't know if it solves all my issues that I need, but I think a nice hybrid approach, which we'll take you through today, will solve the problems and will get you sorted. Should we have a look at what we've got to move forward to? So here we go, okay? We've got a nice, simpler view to this, haven't we? We've got a concept or a view that looks similar to our corporate logos. So we've brought in our corporate color scheme, sorry. So we've brought in our theming and we've gone with complementary colors or divergent colors or whatever they're called. I'm not a big color expert, okay? We've also got things like your goal percentage. So actually, what percentage are you towards achieving your objective? Which is very important, I think, as to, well, why are we doing this? And how far away are we from the target? Both of which are really important things for us to understand. Okay. What I've also put in is the ability for it to write back into the SharePoint list. So it puts in the date of the last check-in. And we've got who did the last check-in in terms of who modified the list last. Now, there's a benefit and there's a curse with this. So it's one you might want to look at. The last thing we could also do, and potentially we could do, and I haven't done it yet, but we could also put in a change of owner. So we saw before that the list on the left-hand side here, the list here that you have in terms of here's the list of metrics is filtered to me already. So would it be sensible to be able to say, well, I can change owner. This isn't mine anymore. Part of your workflow planning, you should be thinking about that, shouldn't you? Okay. So these are things that you can do. You can also see we've brought in the logo, little simple things, nothing too major. So how have I gone about doing this? What do we need to do? And how can we get started? So we'll go through, and the first thing to do is we need to bring in our theming. Okay, now Power Apps have theming built into them. Okay, but what it is effectively is it's a color and hues of that color. So some lighter, some darker. And it works very well, don't get me wrong. But what you tend to find when you're working with a company is this, we have a branding schema. So we need to implement that. So Geordie Intelligence, Geordie Consulting, we've both got branding schemas. They're different because, why would they be the same? Okay, but we're going to use this as a Geordie Intelligence one. So we'll put our Geordie Intelligence stuff in here. Okay, so we're going to do that. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little spinner on so that it actually looks like the app's doing stuff, because remember, when it has to go away and poll SharePoint, that's not instant. So it'd be nice to have something where you can't click elsewhere, but you can see it's doing something. So oh yeah, good, it's doing something. And then we could also put some notifications on the app. So it tells you, I've done this for you. You're great. Okay. It's nothing too difficult, but these little things make all the difference to actually help make this more part of the workflow that people are going to go through. So step one, okay, theme. So the way we deal with theme is on the left-hand side here of the screen. Oh yeah, it's just down enough, isn't it? Right. If you click on app here, and for some reason it's got this silly thing to say theme, right? If we click on app, heard me talking about themes, you can see you've got different options here. And what we want is the OnStart event. Okay, so in the OnStart, I'm just going to paste this in. You'll see why, because I couldn't be bothered with typing it out. I have typed it all out before, but I don't want to do it again. So we'll go over here and add this. Okay. So this is how you do a theme, in other words. Okay. So what we're saying is set a variable. Okay, set is where you declare a variable. And a variable can be like a scalar, so a single value, but it can also be a record. So actually like a group of values. We're declaring this as a group of values. So we could add things to this as well. And all we would need to do is add a comma, have a new column name, test call, give it that, and this is great. Okay, so we can see different value types, everything works, it's quite happy with that. You can do that, you can build these up. So you can build up your theme. In this case, I've got 3 main colors and 2 background colors, okay, kind of off grays and a glassy effect, kind of like a see-through one for the spinner background. Okay, so we've got this principle built up. This is going to be there. The last thing I've got in here is this show spinner, false. Okay, because what we're going to do, we're going to put a spinner on the whole page, overlaying it. And then what we can do is when we want it to show, we make it true, and then we can make it false. So when you do things, because you can build up chains of events like we've got here with these 2, and we'll add a third now as well, just so you can see how that works. You can start them with a show spinner equals true, and then you finish it, and the last one will be a show spinner equals false, or color false. And that way it's going to show the spinner for a period, and then it's going to hide it again. So it gives that impression, oh, something's happening. Oh, this is great. Okay, so we'll do this. The last thing I want to do is I want to set something. So we're going to set another record. So we're going to set vSelected. This is going to be for our record, our goal that we've highlighted. Okay, let's just do it this way. This will make a difference when we come to do a patch in terms of writing it back, because that's going to be an important thing for us to do as well. So what we want to do is patch the defaults, okay, which is what we're saying. So the default columns for goals, close brackets, close brackets. So what it'll mean is it'll create an empty record. So there'll be no values in it, but it will allow us to actually say, right, we've got something in here that we can use, rather than trying to hand null information or making things look too errory. So this will allow us to do that. So we're going to create that as well. So we can see we've now got 3 set events. Sensible thing to do often when you're writing these formulae is to do format text. Okay, if it formats text and reshuffles things, okay, it's right. If it doesn't and it stays the same, there's an issue with it, and you can have to try and track that down. But tracking down the issues in unformatted statements can always be difficult. But a good acid test is format text. That changed something, or oh, that didn't, really means, right, we've not got this right. Okay, so we've done that. Now, because we've done that and defined an OnStart event, what we need to do is trigger to run the OnStart. So we're going to right click on here and run the OnStart. And we can then check and validate that that is run by coming to this X over here. Let me minimize this. And under global variables, you can see we've got the variables that we've declared. We've got our theme, and we can choose to view this record. So we can see it's got colors there. Okay. What we can also do is see we've got the show spinner equals false, and we've got this vSelected with a list of columns, all of which are blank. Right? So it gives a quick and easy way to actually start to build up what you're going to need. So we've got the bare bones ready. Do it this way. So what we can do is we're going to create a container for it. We're going to make the container full screen. And then within the container, we're going to add the spinner and make the spinner full screen as well. Okay. Seems a bit weird, I know, but what we can do is, because it's a container, the container can have a proper background color. So we can say on fill, where we see we've got white, what we're going to do is go GI theme dot spinner back. That's grey back. That's kind of makes sense. You can see, you can imagine if that was opening up, you'd be, oh yeah, clearly something's going on with that. And we'll make this huge. So again, it's big. So we've got that. So we've got a nice spinner. We've got that. I think what we can also do is we could change the color, the spinner color. So spinner color. Let's put this as our secondary. So GI theme dot secondary, okay, which is our kind of grey background, or our bronze. That kind of looks good, nice and branded, doesn't it? Okay, so everyone's going to be really happy with that now. And then lastly, what we need to do is for the container, so we'll highlight the container, in the drop down, we'll go down to visible. And instead of it being true, we're going to say this is v show spinner, okay, which is currently false. So instantly it disappears. So how can we test this? So the way we would test it is, the first thing we're going to do is, of course, on our list, there's a couple of things that we want to happen, isn't it? So the first thing we want to happen is that when we click this, we want it to show the spinner. The next thing we want to do is to copy whatever the item is and copy that to our V selected. And the third thing and the last thing we want to do is to actually go and recover the latest values from our app. So from our list that we've got, okay? So we've already written, if we look at here and we look at the OnSelect, sorry. Look at OnSelect. You can see if we zoom in, we've got the get current values, okay? So we've got something here. So we've got that. So we can start, the first thing we do is let's go to set, open brackets, V spinner, comma, true, close brackets, semicolon, because now we're going to do another thing, okay? We said we're going to take this using this item, which is really the record that I'm selecting and clicking in. So semicolon that. What we then want to do is set, open brackets, V selected, this item. So push all of this item, so this selected thing, into our V selected. So we've actually now got records appearing, which is really important. So we've got a basic start happening. Excellent. Okay. That's what we wanted there. The last thing we need to do, semicolon there, is of course set V show spinner false. Okay. So we've suddenly got a list of 3 things that we're going to have, or 4 things, sorry, that are going to happen when we select something. So if I press play now, and we say, oh, let's click on London, see it spins, it goes away, it gets the current values. If I choose to say Northeast, see it spins, it goes away, it gets the current values. So we've got something that's going to work now for us. Now this is going to be our title. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a bit bigger. What I'm going to say for here is, instead of it being the gallery goals selected GUID, what we want to do is say this is going to be V selected dot title. Okay, so what's the title of the selected item? Because it's going to be a title, let's make it a bit bigger. So we'll go 20 point. You should make it semi-bold. For example. Yeah, okay, it looks good, doesn't it? Yeah, perfect. Right, and again, we could choose to say, well, we're gonna go over the top with this. We're gonna go with full branding. We could make this container that this is all in. We could make that have a blue background with then white text or whatever we want. Okay, but I've got that on for the button, haven't we? We've got the blue background with that for the button. So we're going to leave it as is for now. We've got this principle here where we can build this. This one here, we're saying that's the current value. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Okay, I'm going to put it here, and we're going to bring this down. Let's put this here for now, this here. Okay, and we're going to lay this out a bit more like a form. Okay, so we will go here, and we can say we're in our container, so we can choose to insert some text. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's put this in as last check-in, okay, colon, space, right? I'm going to put a space in there because when we start to lay this form, we'll put everything up, butting up to it. So that way it'll keep it all slightly spaced out because these otherwise are all going to line up, aren't they? So what we can do now is we can close this down a little bit. We can line those two up. So last check-in, so that's going to be a date value, isn't it? I'm just going to copy these two, Control-C, Control-V. Okay, so we start to be able to lay out forms, don't we? Like this way, okay? Because what I also want to put here is the last check-in. This is going to be checked in by. Okay, so who checked me in? Who checked this in? So I spell it correctly. So checked in by. And for both these, what should we do? Shouldn't we? Should say instead of being start, let's make these the end. Okay, so that they're going to be always up against the end, and then the values, because they're always being text, that'll be like that. So this at the moment is V current. So what we want to do is make this V selected dot last check-in. Okay, so that's going to give us a date value for when it was last checked in. For here, let's go V selected dot modified dot email, or should we go display name? Modified by even. V selected dot modified by, it's because it puts it in there, dot display name, so it gives us a name. Thing to remember with this, okay, is it's going to be based on the last selected value in terms of who has last updated that record. So in this case, because I've built everything, it's all going to be me. We also don't have a last check-in date because the check-in date is going to come from this app. So this app, as part of the update, will write back the check-in date. So the check-in dates will be blank at the moment. But it gives us something we can work with. Obviously, thinking about the workflow of this, people are going to come here, do everything. Everything is stored in our list that we've got. We can tie automation to that to say, well, this hasn't been updated since gosh knows when. Okay, and we could even have flags appearing on these to say, well, this isn't right. We could choose to sort it by last update date. So we can do that actually. So let's do this where we've got here. See, we've got the items. So we've got that. So we can say, well, let's sort. Oh. Open brackets. I should have put a line. Filter, yep, sort filter, because we've got that filter's already there. So sort by, we want this to be by the last check-in. Sort order descending, close brackets, okay? So it gives us this. This is then by the last, the order following, yeah? So if we hit play, you see it's got these. So these have got values, these don't. So we probably want to do it the other way around, probably ascending. I'm thinking descending because that's like the most recent. What we want is sort order ascending, isn't it? Of course it is. Okay, so I will pick that and we can change sort order to be ascending. Okay, and that will go through and recalculate it. So it gives us a concept, doesn't it, that we can start to work through, say, which ones have you not done? We could also potentially put in, and we would do this, we've changed these, instead of it being the owner, we could choose to bring in the, let's bring in status. Where we've got this top here, we could choose to bring this down a little bit because we're going to shorten this down in a minute. We could do Control C, Control V, because we're going to add something else in here. And that something else is going to be last check-in. Okay, so that works. And if we scroll down, you can see, oh, I need to hit play, don't I? If we scroll down, we have last check-in dates. Okay, so suddenly we've got something that will work, right? And that's going to allow us to piece it together. One thing you might notice is, well, those are UK English date formats, aren't they? That might not be the best thing to have. So what we can do is we can come back to here. We can click on here and we can choose to do a format. So that's the text, comma, and then we're going to go say DD, MMM, yeah, YYY, close brackets, okay? So now if we hit play and we scroll down to the bottom, you can see we get something. I've gone with the capital Y's instead of the lowercase y's. Just goes to show you need to stay on top of everything with these things. It is a case sensitive language, okay? YYY. So there we go. So we're going to have that formatted that way. So that's been nice. So what we should do as well for consistency is let's do that with this. So we'll come back over to here. We're going to say text, open brackets, comma, DD, MMM, YYYY. Oh, close brackets. Okay, so we now have a consistent view going through. What we could then do is bring in, well, what was the last value that we had? Okay, so I'm going to do this, Control C, Control V. Okay, this is going to be previous value. Okay, Control C, Control V again, and we're going to paste this in here. Now, what we've got going on with these is this is one of the things that you need to think about. We've got lots of text canvases being placed in. Not so concerned about these because these are all kind of static. They're just going to be there for you. When you're starting to write into things, you definitely do want to make sure that you're giving these new names as you're going. It's good practice to do as well. Okay, again, for the sake of keeping this moving, I'm not going to worry too much about it. But we've got here, as we can see, this is text this, but what we want for this is we're going to call this vSelected dot value. Okay, so what's the current value? Now, we're going to tackle this, okay, because it needs to be done. So what we need to do is let's shorten this down. Okay, now one of the things that I know from past experience, and I'm sure there are better ways of doing it, and I've looked for them. Okay, so if you find a way, be sure to put it in the comments. Okay, but for me, my experience is we've always ended up doing it this way. It works, and that's probably the problem. Is it works? I've got so many other things to do. It just keeps dropping down the priority list in terms of, are we going to fix this? So what we're going to do is we're going to set this up so it has a format to it. Okay, so again, I'm going to drop down a line and go text, open brackets. This way it won't just move away again, comma, and then we're going to say hashtag, comma, hashtag, or sorry, 0, because we always want to make sure we display something, dot hashtag, okay? And I'm going to add a third hashtag. You go, why is he adding a third? Okay, there's a reason for this. Okay, so I'll show you what happens if I just add 2 first. Okay, so we'll do this, right? So it's lovely. This now looks like we want it to look, right? And to make sure it looks really good, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this bold because, yeah, this is the value we want. Okay, I'll make these semi-bold. Again, just so that they kind of stick out a bit, that these are the important bits, as it were. But this number is definitely important. So we're going to have that as bold. Right? Now, looking at what we've got, not everything is like that. So further down, we've got things like Southwest. So if we click on Southwest, oh, we end up with a dot at the end. Okay? Very annoying. So what we can do is we can cancel that and we can choose to turn around and say, right, what we actually need to do here is add the fourth one, or the third one, sorry. And then what we're going to do is say left open brackets. So we're going to take the left side of whatever this is, comma. So the number of characters is going to be the length. So len for length of open brackets. And this whole piece again, with text as well, sorry. Len that close brackets -1 close brackets. Again, we've got an awful lot written there. Let's make sure it works. It does. Okay, and magically the decimal point disappears, right? So we'll say we're going to align this to the end so it's all clear. And again, knowing what we've got, we could make this shorter. We could say, well, we want it to be like this sort of length, okay? And now, if we click play, we find that we can go up and down through these numbers and numbers. Where we've got these ridiculously long things, it filters it down. The issue you have is like places like this where it should be 4.72. It's going to come back as 4.71 because we've just done a len. You could do a round, you could do this, but it just seems this is really annoying me. As I say, it keeps never getting quite back to the top enough to really solve this. But anyway, it works well enough for what we need it to do with, because this is just a display. Okay, so we've got the previous version. What we then need to do is say, well, what's the current version? What's the current value in Power BI? Okay, so we can do Control-C, Control-V, bring this back. Okay, align this with this. Try and make sure that those are equal. There's all sorts of things. You can spend so much time and effort on these. Okay, and so for this, we'll say, I'm going to call this Power BI value, okay, because this is the value that's in Power BI. So for this, if you remember, this is going to be our value, our item, and I can't remember what it's called. My mind's just gone blank. So if we look back and we go to the OnSelect, we can see this is the var current value. Okay, I should have started consistency, Ross. So here we go. So var current value, and it doesn't need anything because it's just scalar. There we go. Okay. So text, so it's already coming through as text, which is the problem. So what we need to do is wrap this in a value. Okay, I'll do it again here. Value, open brackets, close brackets, okay? So that works. So we can see these haven't really changed. It's kind of stayed the same, which is what you really like to see as you're going through these things. So if we can kind of click and we can see, it'd probably be easier if we look at kind of establishments. So if we pick on, say, the West Midlands, we can see it's different, so it's changed. So it'd be nice to know is, well, how's it changed? How does Power BI differ to the other one, to the out of the box? So what we can say is we can choose to put in to here. So again, I'm just going to copy all of these because I'm just going to do 2 of these, but you could do 3. I was thinking through it. Is it 2? Is it 3? In the end, I've gone with 2, rightly or wrongly. You can argue and say, well, you've done it wrong. Should be right. Okay. So let's go with here. This is going to be difference. And this is goal percent. So what percentage is it towards the goal, which is just as important, isn't it? So here, we've got all these functions. We don't need it, okay? Because what we're going to do really is we're going to say, well, we probably do need it, don't we? But what we want to do at this point is we want to say, well, what is the difference between the two? So you want to figure out what the difference is between the two of these. So what we'll say is we'll say their current value minus v selected dot value. Okay, and it's not going to like that. Oh, it's fine. It's fine with it. Okay, so it's saying it's 41 is the difference. Okay, thought it wouldn't like it because I could have sworn the other one was text. It's treating it as a number. So that's fine. So we've got then a difference here where we can see, well, there's 41 between it. It's changed by 41. If you have a look and we go and we do it with some of these, it's going to be like significantly. And it's never going to be a huge amount in terms of the amount it's changed. So I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm going to leave it as is and just leave it as a minus because these numbers, if we rounded them, wouldn't make sense. For goals, so what we want to do is we want to take the numerator, which is going to be our Power BI value. So that's going to be our VAR current value. Divide that by v selected dot target. Okay. So we can see we're above target, which is brilliant. Okay, but that doesn't look great, does it? So what we need to do then, we need to wrap this in text. You do an awful lot of this wrapping things in text to kind of format them in PowerApps. And then comma, and then this is going to be speech marks. 0 hash percent. There we go. Okay. That's saying 1%. Wow, okay, do we want to do that? I think we're going to insist that we actually put in some proper percentages, but that doesn't. Yeah. Let's go here. So let's do this. Do it this way. Close brackets. Multiply that by 100. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's right. So we've got that's 100.41%. So we can get that to work. So it's 100%, isn't it? Really, is what we're saying. We can choose any area, and we can see that will work. That will update. Tell us what's going on with it. It would be nice to actually understand what the goal was, wouldn't it? So how about we do this? We go here, got value title. What we can do is we can say, well, and hyphen and v selected target, isn't it? Target. So now we've actually got a target in there. Now the targets are always kind of hard coded, so they are sensible things. We probably wouldn't need to do anything. We can see it's saying 4.7. This is 4.75. So winner, chicken dinner. Okay. So this is working for us now already. So the last thing I said we should do is actually look into updating this so that it gives us something a little bit better. We've got our button, which at the moment is doing this. So we want to set v selected, also v show spinner to true, close brackets, semicolon. Let's go down to the next one, semicolon. Okay, so we're checking that in now. So what we will do here, instead of using selected goals, is we will use our v selected. Okay, the rest is the same, but it's important because that gets us consistency that we're using the variable for it. The next one down, what we want to do, so what we're going to do is we're going to write a patch statement. So it's going to be patch, open brackets, goals, comma, what are we going to update? We're going to update v selected. So we're going to write that back, okay? Within there though, we want to make some additional changes. So what we're going to do is open the record, okay? So we can do this curly braces. And we're going to pick to modify the value, which is going to equal the VAR selected. Okay, and it's saying, well, that's text. I expect a number. I think, is it saying? No, okay. Do something else. Oh. Let's go down to the next line. And the next one is going to be the check-in, last check-in. That's going to equal today. And brackets, close brackets, okay? So what we're saying very quickly and easily is put these last two pieces of information in. It's not happy with this. Yeah, so it's text, not number. So what we'll say is just make this value of open brackets, VAR, there we go, close brackets, okay? It's all good. So that's going to write that back. Okay, what we want to do as well is we want to set this text box notes and let's clear it, shall we? So if we go to semicolon, next line down, let's reset checkbox notes. Okay, so we're going to reset that back to how it should be when we enter. Semicolon, and let's then set B show spinner false. And then lastly, just to make everyone feel happy, how about we notify people? So we're going to notify check-in of be selected title check-in and space successful notification type success, give it a duration in milliseconds, so 3000, close brackets. Okay, so suddenly we've got a whole list of things that are going to be there for us. Again, we'll format text, that's worked, so it's written correctly. What we can also do, just because we're going to have all these things happen, is let's look at one of these the last piece I said we would do. It's where we would put in some level of validation. So a simple validation here, and it's again, this is just simple. So if we look at the display mode, at the moment this is in edit. What we can do is we can say if open brackets, text check-in notes dot value. So if len, so the length of it, remember. Text check-in notes dot value is less than 5. Display mode is disabled, otherwise it's going to be edit. Okay. So we can see at the moment it's disabled. We can hit the format text, that's right. We can choose to play it. We can write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, magic, okay? So we can do that. We could say, oh, you want at least 20 characters in for your validation. You want your 30 characters, 50, whatever you choose to do with your business. You can write rules. Okay, this is a simple one. There are other ways of doing validations, but this is a nice, easy one. It's fairly lightweight. So to test this, what we could do is I could say, right, we know we're looking at Northwest. So, okay, so to validate this, we've come back to Power BI. We'll go into our metrics. So we've got the England food hygiene. We just checked in the Northwest and the average hygiene. Northwest, we can see we've got one value here. The values for Northwest are not proceeding as expected. So we can see, right, things are going downward trend. We've got this. This is brilliant. Okay, we've written this back. Okay, what's also happened, okay, if we go and we check the SharePoint list now. Okay, so SharePoint list, goals, yeah. Is we'll see if I look at the modified newer to old, about a minute ago, we wrote back these values. So we've written in the new value, and it's also now got a last check-in date there. So we've actually written in the last time it was checked in, and we can see when it was modified now. Okay, and that'll have my name in it. So in theory, some of the things we could do with this is we could put in things like we could have an option where you could change who the owner is, because the owner in the SharePoint list, which is used to determine things, could be different to the other side. And we need to keep those two aligned, and we've got things working with it. So there's all sorts of things we can do, but it all ties in with a simple app in particular. So what do you reckon then? Okay. Power Apps can integrate in with Power Automate, and Power Automate and Power BI and Power Apps all work together as one big family. So what we've got here is a way that we could actually build up our whole reporting algorithms and whole reporting estate using Power Automate and Power Apps to make that interplay work, with then a visualization layer all in Power BI. So our management teams, our management structures are all able to check and see the Power BI reports. And we could even have Power BI reports reporting on the list. And actually, is it up to date? Is it not up to date? Who's not doing their check-ins? Who has done check-ins? What's the state of play? It's a very different landscape to everyone coming to me and saying, have we got the check-in information? Have you found out what's happened? Is the slide ready for? Okay? Because suddenly it's all pushed out. It's not me doing it, it's them. Okay. And that makes a very big difference to how your data maturity will improve, because suddenly it's very clear where the issues are, where the challenges are, as opposed to it being the admin task that becomes the point of failure. Okay. The admin task is something that you need to do in terms of you need to report back to the business to say, we've got an issue here, we've got an issue there, here is a problem. This is what we're working to get through. This is where we're finding problems. This is the challenges that we are facing. These are opportunities. And doing that and putting it in their hands to manage, control, govern changes things, because I'm not having to chase that up, find something for them. I go, oh, it doesn't quite fit the box I want to put in. I want to change it. And it happens that people kind of rewrite or remove keywords from sentences between it being submitted to them and it actually appearing in a board paper. Okay, stranger things have happened, believe me. So having it very much there, and there's no variance there. Everything works. We can clearly see who's updated this. I have an audit trail in here. One of the things I also have in here, which is very nice with the SharePoint Online side, is you have a version history. Okay, so what I might do is I'll put a screenshot of version history for it. Okay, and that version history allows you to see, well, who's made changes to these records over time. So we can start to trace and see how things are progressing, where are things being changed. We've got the list or the metrics, sitting in our scorecard. Each one of those, it's got who's done something to it. So I'm the one who's checked it in. If it's presenting something different and it's not what I checked in, it'll have someone else's name in it because somebody else will have changed it. So if I go in and update that comment, it will then switch to being Jake's name or my name, whoever it was who made the change. It makes everything like ownership, responsibility, kind of, you can feel that like, oh, I'm responsible, I'm accountable for these. It resonates in with this whole way of working. And that's really what's key to making your business more data-driven, more data-orientated. So I hope you think, wow, I hadn't thought that we could do all this. Okay, and you can. This is something that's just amazing. And the more you start looking into this and unpacking it, it's like, so much we can do. Well, next thing we're going to do is we're going to obviously push this forward. Actually, what can we do to bring this through and have this coming out into a bring this into a PowerPoint presentation so that somebody will say, one click button, ta-da, here's my report, yay. What can we do with those? How does that work? How is it bringing in metrics into things? It's well worth having a look at that. And it's well worth also starting to unpick that minefield that we have. The other thing to remember is what we've got here right now, there's nothing to stop us putting in latest check-in as a text box, text value within our list, and then using that list in terms of as a source for another report, which is going to pull those check-in values in. Might be that you need to do it that way just because of the nature of the beast. Okay, rather than having to go to the Power BI, which has all the check-ins over time, you might say, well, where's the latest one? And that's easier then to extract into a PowerPoint. But we'll see where we go next week. And as always, if you liked what you've seen and you think, I could do with having this support in our business, get in touch with Geordie Consulting, office@geordieconsulting.co.uk, We'll arrange a meeting and we can work out how we can help you guys get to the next level with whatever it is you're doing. So take care, stay safe, ta-da.